Welcome to the Radiology Vault, an open repository for radiology educational content designed for learners and medical professionals. Presented by the Michigan Medicine Department of Radiology.
I'm Prachi Agarwal, Cardiothoracic Radiologist. I have no disclosures. In this short presentation, I'll discuss cardiac planes, myocardial segments, and various coronary artery territories. The reason we are talking about this today is because the heart sits in the chest in a way that it's not amenable to our standard axial, sagittal, or coronal imaging. Instead, we need dedicated cardiac imaging planes, which can be long axis planes, where you visualize the entire heart, but in a long axis going through the true LV apex. One of the examples is a horizontal long axis or a four-chamber plane. It looks very much like an axial image, but indeed it's obliqued, so it's running through the true LV apex. You see all the four cardiac chambers, the mitral and tricuspid valves. Next up is a two-chamber or the vertical long axis planes, where you can see the left atrium and the left ventricle. And finally, the three-chamber or the LVOT view. In this, you can see the outflow tract very well, and therefore it's great for picking out outflow tract obstructions, as you may encounter with subaortic membranes or hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or visualizing mitral valve pathology. Now, the workhorse happens to be the short axis plane, where you cut the heart, kind of slice it from the base to the apex. And this is something you use for cardiac function assessment, for visualizing various wall motion abnormalities, and so on. Moving on to myocardial segments, there are 17 segments per the AHA model. On the top row, you can see the short axis images. The first image is a basal image. The middle one is a mid-cavitary image at the level of the papillary muscles. And finally, you have an apical image. The second row shows you the vertical long axis and the horizontal long axis images. Now, the first segment we'll talk about is the anterior segment. You can see it in the top row on the short axis images. And if you look at it on the long axis views, you can see it in the two-chamber left of the heart. Diametrically opposite to it is the inferior segment, which you can again see highlighted as white. And you can again see this in the two-chamber images. Moving on to the septum and the lateral wall. Now here there is a difference between the basal mid-cavity levels and the apical level. At the basal and mid-cavity level, the septum is subdivided into two segments. So you have an anteroseptal segment and an infroseptal segment. Whereas at the apical level, you have a single septal segment. In the long axis views, if you look at the four-chamber image, you can see that we visualize the septum. But then the question is, what part of the segment or what part of the septum are you really visualizing here? Now, in this case, it pertains to the infroseptal segment, and we will look at it a little bit in detail in the next slides, where you will see the orientation of different planes with each other. Moving on to the lateral wall, again, you have an anterolateral and an infralateral segment at the basal and midventricular level, whereas you have a single lateral segment on the apical level. If you visualize the lateral view on the four-chamber image, most of the times you're looking at the anterolateral segment. Now the short axis views nicely show you these segments except for the true LV apex, which is best visualized on your long axis views. So now you have 17 segments, 6 at the base, 6 at midventricular level, 4 at the apex, and finally the true LV apex. Let's look at how these various planes are oriented relative to each other. So when you have a short axis image and you create a plane along this yellow line, you end up with a horizontal long axis or a four-chamber plane. And now you can understand how you are seeing these various walls. You're seeing the infroseptal segment and the anterolateral segment best on a four-chamber image. Moving on to another plane. Now this is oriented along this part of the yellow line, and this provides you a two-chamber image. And this explains how you see the anterior wall and the inferior wall on a two-chamber or a vertical long axis image. And finally, understand how a three-chamber or an LVOT plane is oriented relative to the short axis. As you know that the LVOT view goes through the aorta, so it has to be oriented in this way. and that is why you see the anteroseptal and the infralateral walls on the LVOT or three-chamber plane. Now, why is this important? This can be very helpful if you're QCing an MR case and you see delayed enhancement in a particular segment, and you want to obtain another plane where you can see it in a perpendicular plane. So for instance, let me show you a case. This is a patient with myocarditis, 28-year-old. As you know, the Lake-Louise criteria require you to have T1 and T2 factors. In the first image, you see a T2 map, and you can see this abnormality in the infralateral basal wall. You can also see the corresponding high signal on T2 weighted stir imaging. And finally, you can see delayed enhancement in a subepicardial location on the third delayed enhanced imaging. Now, if you were looking at the case, you weren't quite sure, and you wanted to confirm this delayed enhancement, what you could do is you could obtain a three-chamber image. And knowledge of this myocardial segments and the anatomy really helps you decide which plane to obtain. The last part of the presentation is about various coronary artery territories, and this is really based on where the coronary arteries live. So you can see that the LAD lives in the anterior interventricular groove, and that's why it supplies the anterior and the anteroseptal segments. The posterior descending artery, which is commonly a branch of the RCA, lives in the posterior interventricular groove and supplies the inferior and infraseptal walls. And finally, the lateral wall is supplied by the circumflex artery. True apex is typically supplied by the LAD. So with this knowledge, if you look at this particular case, this is a reconstructed image from a case done several years ago. And what you notice is that the myocardial thickness is normal, but there is hypoperfusion as well as wall motion abnormality. If you look at the polar maps, you can identify that the wall motion abnormality is predominantly related to the anterior and anteroseptal segments. And therefore, it tells you that this is LAD territory involvement. In fact, this patient had vegetations. You can see these partially seen vegetations along the aortic valve, and embolism had led to an acute LAD infarction in this particular patient. Now, it's important to understand that sometimes there can be variant anatomy, so always keep that in mind when you're assessing wall motion abnormalities and attributing it to coronary territories. Just to exemplify this, this is a patient with severe LAD and RCA disease. And when you look at the wall motion and the thickness of the wall, you can see that the abnormality involves both the anteroseptal and infraseptal walls. But the anterior wall looks relatively preserved, which would be atypical for an LAD territory. Now, the reason becomes clear when you notice that this patient actually has a ramus intermedius, which was uninvolved, and that is why the anterior and anterolateral segments were relatively preserved. Thank you very much for your attention.